Hey guys, it's Ezra May. Welcome to a new Friday film. Sorry, it's been forever. I haven't really been to the movies much, and that's pretty much it. Today I'm going to review Disney Pixar's Inside Out, and I actually saw it on opening night, but I wanted to go see it again before doing a review, just so I have a better understanding of it. So now I've seen it twice. Anyway, I'm still really excited to talk about it, and let's get started. It's about an 11-year-old girl named Riley and her two parents, and she has to move from Minnesota to San Francisco. It deals with the emotions inside her head as she deals with that move and having to make new friends and that kind of thing. And these little emotions are like, they're kind of like little people, and they're broken down into 5 basic categories, which is joy, sadness, fear, anger, and disgust. And this is actually based on a theory, like an actual psychological theory, and it's just so interesting. Inside Out had the biggest opening of an original Disney Pixar film so far. It opened with 90 million, so it's a pretty big deal, and I love everything around it. I love the marketing. I really love the little toys that they sell with it. So it was directed and written by Pete Docter, and it stars Amy Poehler, Bill Hader, Mindy Kaling, Phyllis Smith, and Lewis Black, all of whom do a fantastic job as the voices of every emotion. So basically the forefront of Riley's brain is called headquarters, and then everything underneath is like long-term memory and short-term memory and all that kind of stuff. Joy and sadness get locked out of headquarters, and it's so cool how Riley functions on her first couple weeks at a new school without joy and sadness. You know, she's only left with anger, fear, and disgust, which is very normal for when you're starting at a new place and you don't know anyone, and you just that's how you deal with things. Every time a moment happens, it gets sucked up into this little like glowing ball, and it glows whatever color emotion that Riley feels when she's having that moment. So if she's really happy, there's a golden one, and same goes for the others. So if she's like scared of something, there's a purple one, and if she's disgusted, it's a green one. And basically all these little balls like go into this machine tube thing, you know, typical Disney style, and they get locked into her long-term memory. And if it's something that's really important, it goes into this little tube that holds core memories. So Riley needs those to remember who she is, like where she came from, that kind of stuff. And then they all build up into these islands. So she's got Family Island, Friendship Island, and Hockey Island, so everything that makes up her personality. Obviously that's not really what goes on in our head, but to visualize that for kids is such an amazing thing to do, and I love how they've done that. Joy is the narrator, and Amy Poehler was born for this role. Pretty sure they wrote it for her. She is so sunshiny and positive, and she doesn't understand what sadness is there for. She doesn't understand why every time sadness touches one of Riley's memories, it turns blue, and then every time Riley remembers it, she's actually sad about it. So sadness, you don't find out her purpose till halfway through the movie, and then the way you find it out is beautiful. I actually had a few mothers next to me crying. They were like bawling. It was so funny, but no, it wasn't funny, but it was pretty funny. Phyllis Smith as Sadness was probably my favorite vocal performance. I think she did really, really, really well capturing that emotion, and everybody else in it was great. We had Richard Kind. He played Bing Bong, who is Riley's imaginary friend, and I'm not going to tell you what happens, but his storyline is really touching as well. And I think the funniest parts were when we went into the emotions of the other characters, so the mum and the dad, and then at the end they went into the mind of a dog and a cat, and then just see how like what emotion plays the most in their head. What I love about this film is it makes a distinction between sadness and depression. Most people associate the two, but actually they're very different. There is a moment in the film where Riley decides she wants to run away from home. She really hates, you know, her new life, and all her emotions are not in control. They're actually not like doing anything because joy and sadness are locked out, and then the other 3 are not actually controlling her. So that sort of made the distinction between depression and everything else. Depression is not feeling anything, you know, having no feeling, and not having any control, just sort of not feeling anything. So I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly. She got on the bus and she ran away from home. Like, she's an 11-year-old, you know, and she does all this stuff because she's got she feels nothing. Joy and sadness come back to headquarters, and then she realizes, oh my goodness, what am I doing? I have to go back to my family, and she runs back home, and she cries to her mum and dad just saying she's not happy. And what I thought here was as a predictable that they would move back to their old place, but the fact is they didn't move back, which I liked, because in reality that's not what always happens. Like, you can't always have everything you want at the same time. Her emotions start to mix and she has a bit of both, so every moment in her life is more than one emotion instead of just the one. At the end, when you see all her memories, they're like bits of purple and green and yellow, you understand that when something happens in life, you feel a mix of emotions. You can't just be happy, happy, happy 100%. Like, every day has some bad in it, some good in it. And I just really loved how they played around with that concept. I loved it so much. It was so good. My only thing that, like, the only major problem for me was that it was so short. Before I knew it, it was finished, and maybe I wanted to see like Riley's whole life, because it kind of deals between the ages of 11 and 12, but I think if they went on till she was 21, that would have been way too much of a stretch and the kids would be bored by then. So I understand why they cut it there. Story-wise, there isn't a lot happening in this film. It's basically this young girl moving from one place to another. But that's what I love about this film. There are no real villains. I think the villain type character is the emotions, like, you know, the things that you battle with inside your own head, which is so interesting because we face that kind of thing every day. You know, we make a decision, we try to change something, and everything in our head, we sometimes fight with ourselves, and that's what Disney has touched on. Like, there was nothing to defeat, there was nothing to like go up against. It was just about you and about feeling, and how feeling can really change the way that you look at your life. And I think putting an 11-year-old at the center of it, it's that age where you don't know what's going on, you're still sort of under the control of your parents, and you're just forced to go with whatever changes happen to you. And I really loved that idea. I think it's just a really, really smart concept, a very difficult one to explain to kids, but you know what? Pixar went for it anyway, and I actually love it. I loved it even more the second time. I will be purchasing it, and yeah, it's really good. So if you've seen it, let me know what you think. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll catch you next time. Bye! There were so many smart gimmicks throughout. For example, they had this thing called Dream Duty, so whenever Riley closed her eyes, they were able to also control her dreams, and if it was something bad, they try to change it. And there's this whole studio supposedly in your brain called Dream Productions, where these little like bean characters, you know, just like little characters that Disney always has, that would dress up as people that she'd met throughout the day, like her teacher and her friends. I especially love this bit where when Joy and Sadness were stuck in long-term memory, and there were these little bean characters. They were vacuuming out all of the memories that Riley didn't need. For example, they were like, look at all these are phone numbers, she doesn't need them, she's got them on her phone, and then they would suck it all up. She did like 4 years of piano lessons, and they say they're kind of going grey, because if Riley forgets about something, it'll just fade, and he's like, keep Heart and Soul and Chopsticks and delete the rest. And it's so funny because those are like the songs that generally people know on piano. That's something that I really like resonated with. I love that. And then yeah, all the missing memories go down into this dump, and then they just fade away, and it seems really sad, and like, just, yeah, it seems really sad that you forget about things that happen in your life, whether they be people or just situations, but then at the same time, you don't need them. Like, things are there for a reason, and then when they fade away, they don't need to be part of who you are anymore. Like, they're missing, they're gone. And there were so many deep themes in this movie that perhaps I should do a written review, because I'm just rambling like crazy right now.